Make no mistake about it. The Marlins sweeping the Yankees was not a fluke. This team is good. They're contenders in the National League playoff race. And as Maximus said in the cinematic masterpiece Gladiator, are you not entertained?
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been a diehard Marlins fan since I was 12 years old, and I've podcasted about the team for the last 4 seasons. You can find me on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2, and thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the YouTube channel and let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. Only valid through September 30th. Order transfusion-flavored 5-hour energy shots today. In this episode, I'm going to recap the Marlins and the Yankees series. A huge series win, a huge series sweep for the Marlins. They're all the way back to 500. I'm going to tell you why I believe in what Peter Bendix is building in Miami and talk about a couple of aces that I believe are underrated in the grand scheme of things across baseball. The Marlins just pulled off a 3-game sweep of the New York Yankees in Lone Depot Park, and I could not be more pumped up and excited about the product that I'm watching on the field. This isn't a fluke. This team is all the way back to 500 after starting the season at 24-40. I had the Marlins losing 100 games before the season started. Never in my wildest dreams would I have anticipated this kind of run. And that's exactly what we're witnessing. One of the best games I've ever watched, if not the best game, happened on Friday, where the Marlins were down 6-0, and they found a way to come back and win in walk-off fashion. They battled back, took the lead, relinquished the lead, down by 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th, they walk it off. And they carried that momentum into Saturday's game and Sunday's game to get the sweep. Saturday, Agustin Ramirez hit 2 solo home runs, and Yuri Perez threw 6 shutout innings. More about him later in the show. Sunday, very special day. You had Jack McKeon being inducted into the inaugural Marlins Hall of Fame. The World Series winning manager, of course, back in 2003. The Marlins finish off the sweep. They win 7-3. What a weekend. And with the win, they're all the way back to 500. And they have a chance to continue making more noise in a National League that suddenly the door is open for the Marlins. Think about this. At the beginning of the season, I thought the Braves were going to be the favorites. I thought they were going to win close to, if not 100 games. They're not doing anything this season. The Giants have faded down the stretch. The Cardinals stood pat at the deadline. In my mind, it's a 3-team race right now for the final wildcard spot, with the Padres, the Reds, and the Marlins. Why not us? That's the question I ask all of you. This team isn't supposed to be here. Who cares? What they're doing on the baseball field, they're playing together. They're playing focused, and they're playing with a purpose. And each and every one of these players believes that they can win, and they can win now. I saw a video on Twitter after the Yankees game today. I'm recording this on Sunday. The Marlins win that game. Agustin Ramirez is coming off the field, and he's saying, just come out and continue supporting us because it's only going to get better. Things are just getting started at Lone Depot Park, man. I think about where this team is now, and the trajectory that they're on. And right now, I'm focused on making noise, continue winning, and getting into the wild card, getting into the postseason. But if you think about the direction of this team as a whole, I mean, the sky's the limit. They're miles ahead of schedule, way ahead. And that pumps me up. That gets me excited. And every single one of you, as I referenced in the introduction, should be entertained. Baseball, we watch baseball, we love the sport, and we want to see a product that's competitive, that's energetic, and that's fun. And that's exactly what we're seeing. So if you live in South Florida, if you have the opportunity to go to that stadium, do it. Go out there and continue supporting these guys. I'm not saying that the Marlins are going to make the playoffs. They might not, but they're in the race. They're competing right now, and it's a realistic possibility. Doesn't that fire you up? Because it fires me up. I care about winning. I want to see this team continue the path that they're on to success. And Peter Bendix has done that. He is making it clear with his waiver wire moves, with trades, with the way he approached this past deadline, that he is the man for the job. And this is coming from somebody who doubted Peter Bendix when he made the Luis Arias trade. I was angry. I was hurt. I didn't want to see another rebuild. I was tired of making these trades of fan favorites. I was tired of blowing it all up and quote unquote restarting, because it's the Marlins. You have this sinking feeling in your gut that it's not going to work, that this new approach that Peter Bendix brought to the table with Bruce Sherman, it was just never going to mesh and work together, because at the end of the day, it's the Marlins. And we've seen this story before. And I believe it's different now. I believe it's different because of multiple things that Peter Bendix has done, especially this trade deadline. I'm going to talk about that right after this. It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off of it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. I'm not much of a golfer, but one of my favorite memories golfing is when I went to the driving range with my brother, and every single golf ball I hit veered to the right. And that's what I think about when it comes to me and golfing. But golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. This offer's only valid till September 30th on one order and can't be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. So whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Thank you for all the everyday listeners being part of the Locked On Marlins crew. I have a real great time recording this podcast and talking Marlins baseball with you. So hit that subscribe button and share the podcast with other Marlins fans. The Bendix ball era is in full effect. And what Peter Bendix did at the trade deadline in particular instills a ton of confidence in me as a fan. Edward Cabrera and Sandy Alcantara were both highly sought after commodities at the deadline. In fact, I would argue that most people around the game expected one of them, if not both of them, to be traded. I mean, you could just click on MLB Network and listen to them leading up to the deadline talk about Sandy Alcantara. Where is he going to be moved? Who are the potential suitors for him? Edward Cabrera. The rumors were flying. And Peter Bendix sat back, took the offers, and said, we're not selling low on our guys. We're going to keep them and make a run at this thing. That is respect for keeping a legend, a Marlins legend in Sandy Alcantara, and an up-and-coming ace in Edward Cabrera on the Marlins. And this rotation, it's not decimated anymore. They're before the deadline, assuming one or two of them had been traded, you're looking at Valente Bayozo going back to the rotation. You're looking at a potential Robbie Snelling call-up, and you're losing one of your franchise icons in Sandy Alcantara, Edward Cabrera, with 3 more years of control. And it just feels like it's a never-ending cycle of rebuilding. Now, in the offseason, I don't know what this team is going to do. I don't know if Cabrera is going to be moved, if he continues having the career season that he is. I'd like to see both of them frontline the rotation in 2026 along Yuri Perez. But for the rest of the season, Sandy Alcantara, the pressure is off his back of being traded. And I think we're going to see a motivated, enthused version of Sandy Alcantara that we didn't see in the first half. Not like he didn't like playing baseball and he wasn't out there motivated and wanting to win, but you know that was in the back of his mind. And now it's not. He's a Marlin. So let's go and let's make a run at this thing. You look at the moves that Bendix has made on the margins, the moves that aren't talked about, and that only Marlins fans can really tell you the significance of them. Think back to last year. Otto Lopez. Otto Lopez is a waiver claim from San Francisco. He's established himself as the everyday shortstop of the Marlins. Tyler Phillips is a high leverage reliever. Jansen Junk is slotted into the rotation and is a command specialist who doesn't walk a soul. Those are guys that Peter Bendix acquires and makes this team better. The trades, Augustin Ramirez, Gus Bus. How good has he been for this franchise since coming up from the minor leagues in the Jazz Chisholm trade? He had more homers than Jazz did. If you want to compare the two, I think it's a win-win. Kyle Stowers, MVP candidate, Kyle Stowers, acquired by Peter Bendix. And this is a year and a half since he took over. We're still waiting to see the full effects of what Bendix is going to do and possibly do with the addition of spending money and Bruce Sherman. You take his creativity to be able to identify talent, acquire talent, develop guys, the whole system that he has in place, and you supplement it with more financial input from Bruce Sherman and ownership. That's a scary thought for the rest of the league. I think that the Marlins right now, as currently constructed, have a young core in place. It's obvious. Augustin Ramirez, whether he moves off of catcher or not, his bat is very valuable. Kyle Stowers, star. Otto Lopez, everyday shortstop who's above average. Your pitching staff. You retained Edward Cabrera with 3 more years of control. Sandy Alcantara is still in the building. Yuri Perez. Braxton Garrett will be coming back next season. And then in the minor leagues, you have the top left-handed pitching prospect in Thomas White, who's absolutely disgusting. Robbie Snelling, who's on the cusp of the major leagues, knocking on the door in Jacksonville. And then, almost forgot to talk about the newest addition of the Marlins, Jacob Marcy, who is pure electricity and who had 3 doubles and a triple in his first major league series against the Yankees. He was a huge factor in this series sweep. Marcy, as a baseball player, acquired by Bendix in the Luis Arias trade. I had worries about him and his bat to ball, his average. I didn't think he was going to hit enough to be an everyday player. And he goes up there and has the most professional at-bats that I've seen in a long time. And this is for a guy playing in 3 games. In 3 games, you see the approach, the tough at-bats that he works, the power, the extra base power. It's going to translate into some homers. He hit 14 in AAA, but I'll take 3 doubles and a triple over the weekend. That's great production. You know, we said goodbye to Jesus Sanchez, and it's bittersweet because Sanchi was a fan favorite. He was a fun player. But give me Jacob Marcy. Jacob Marcy does more things better than Jesus Sanchez does on the baseball field. And he's played 3 games. Pencil him in the lineup every day. The plate discipline alone is a sight for sore eyes comparing Jesus Sanchez to Jacob Marcy. He was working these at-bats, taking his walks, not giving things away, not giving pitches away. Marcy's the real deal. Peter Bendix is the real deal. And Bruce Sherman, the oft-criticized owner of the Marlins, he said at the beginning of the year, we're going to win a lot more games, much more games than you think we will. And what's happening? This team is 500 in early August with a chance to play their way into the postseason. Now, they don't have any more games left versus San Diego or Cincinnati, but if San Diego collapses, and the Marlins continue playing good baseball, and they're playing the best baseball in the major leagues right now. They're 31-15 over the last month and a half, 46 games. You go 30-15 the rest of the year, you're in the playoffs. You don't even have to be that hot to get into the playoffs. They're closer than people realize. And I love that. I'm so on board. And everybody listening or watching should feel the same way, should feel this excitement for what's to come and be invested for the last 2 months of this season. Sometimes we always say, we just want to watch competitive baseball. It feels great to watch your team compete in a playoff race. You didn't have that in 2024. You sold a third of your team at the deadline. But now we're sitting here, oh my goodness, 55-55, back to 500. Let's keep going. And helping their cause is the fact that they have 2 aces leading their pitching staff. And no, Sandy Alcantara, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Yuri Perez, the best young pitcher in baseball, arguably, and Edward Cabrera, who's enjoying a breakout year. I'm going to talk about them and Sandy Alcantara as well right after this. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while you're at the beach, you're at the pool, doing whatever summer activities suits you. FanDuel is a perfect way to track your favorite matchups. The app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. And it's fast payouts. There's no waiting around. The app's easy to navigate, and it makes those regular season matchups feel like World Series matchups. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Locked On Marlins is on all the major podcast platforms out there, so you can listen on the go, driving your car, at the gym, doing whatever suits you at whatever time of day. Locked On Marlins is there for you Monday through Friday. The Marlins have a couple aces there for them. Edward Cabrera and Yuri Perez. I want to start with Yuri Perez because I do believe he's arguably the best young starting pitcher this season, not named Paul Skeens. Of course, Paul Skeens you could consider a young pitcher, and I wouldn't argue with you there. But I see a lot of talk about Jacob Misiorowski, and there's absolutely no discredit to what Misiorowski has done and the electricity that he provides the Milwaukee Brewers. But I think Yuri Perez is being slept on. After a rough start to the season, his ERA is now down to 2.70 through 50 innings and 51 strikeouts. He's dominating lineups. Yesterday or Saturday against the Yankees, 6 shutout innings. Against the Brewers, 1 run through 5. Going back a start, 2 runs. He's allowed 4 runs in the month of July and then 6 shutout to kick off August. The best thing about Yuri Perez is that there's still so much more room to grow as a pitcher. Yuri's fastball is one of the best fastballs in baseball. He throws it extremely hard with a ton of rise, and he'll mow through major league lineups relying on that one pitch because coming off of Tommy John surgery, he's still waiting for his secondaries to catch up in terms of consistency. Get the changeup dialed in. The slider, it's good, but it's inconsistent at times. And when that happens, Yuri says, okay, bet. Rears back and fires 100 at you, and they don't touch it. So he's just scratching the surface in my mind of who he can be as a pitcher. And there's a couple of things that come along with that for the Marlins. Number one, keep up his development. Know what you have. You have a young, budding superstar who I think is going to compete for Cy Youngs in his career. And then number two, there should be talks about extending him. Yuri Perez is going to command a very hefty payday if and when he hits free agency. And the Marlins can buy out arbitration years because those ARB years are going to be expensive too, by giving him a contract extension. And it does so much for the player, the team, and the fan base because it signals to the fan base we're invested as well. Ownership is taking this seriously. We know what kind of talent we have, so we're going to lock him up. Keep him here for the long haul. Edward Cabrera, they didn't trade him at the deadline. That was the biggest what if. Were you going to keep Edward with 3 years of control, or were you going to trade him for a big prospect package? And Peter Bendix, to his credit, held firm, didn't waver and sell low on a pitcher that is having a career season. Cabrera's hit 100 innings for the first time in his major league career. He has an ERA of 3.24, 103 strikeouts in 100 innings, 19 starts, and that's including an April in which he was awful. In the month of April, he had an ERA over 7. So that's factoring that into the equation. If you go down the board, the month of May, June, and July, 3 months. In each of those months, he had an ERA under 3. This isn't a fluke. This is consistent production from a pitcher that has figured it out at the biggest stage at the most important time in his career. And I'm bought in to what Cabrera is doing on the mound. What I like from a pitching standpoint is I'm a huge fan and an analyzer of pitching and the art behind it, all the metrics that come with it, different pitches, metrics, movement. It's really fun to get into. And Cabrera, what he's done is pretty much eliminate the four-seamer from his arsenal and replaced it with a sinker. I mean, he'll still throw the four-seamer, but he's phasing it out more often than not. He used to throw the four-seamer more than his sinker every single year. And it wasn't a good pitch. It was thrown hard, but it doesn't have the movement to survive. And when you're erratic with your command and it doesn't have movement, that's scary and you're going to get hit hard. So Cabrera's throwing a sinker that grades out much better than the four-seamer. He's got a devastating curveball, one of the best pitches in baseball. And then he'll throw a 95-mile-an-hour changeup and say good luck. So those two are awesome. Sandy Alcantara, I said I was going to talk about him. He's going to start Monday against the Houston Astros, and we're going to welcome old friend Jesus Sanchez back into Lone Depot Park, who just left us. Hopefully he'll be starting with a righty on the mound, and Sandy Alcantara, he should be. But I'm excited for what Sandy's going to bring the second half. I talked about this a little bit earlier in the show. Sandy, there's no more pressure of being traded. Now it's just about letting the results show up. And his last two starts, he pitched 7 shutout against the Padres and then 5 shutout most recently. So against the Cardinals. So Sandy Alcantara, you have him, you have Yuri Perez, you have Edward Cabrera. Those are your top 3 pitchers. And then you got Jansen Junk and Cal Quantrill. Cal Quantrill's pitched very effectively over the last couple of months. He's settled down into a nice groove. Surprisingly wasn't traded, but in the Marlins' minds, and going back to Peter Bendix, why, if there's no offers for him, and that's what was revealed, is there was just no interest in Cal Quantrill at the deadline, even with the expiring contract, then he's pitching well enough to warrant a spot in the rotation and continue doing what he does. Eat innings and give you 5 solid innings, maybe a couple runs, 2-3 runs, turn it over to the bullpen. And I'll live with that. The offense is slugging. You have a couple of mashers with Augustine Ramirez and Kyle Stowers. You have 2 young aces, Sandy Alcantara, who has a chip on his shoulder ever since he came back from Tommy John surgery and now is hitting his groove. Jansen Junk's the command specialist who won't walk anybody, and he's quietly flying under the radar. Why not the Marlins? Everybody, whether you expected this or not, you should enjoy it. It's baseball. This is your team. And they have a chance to sneak into the playoffs in what I think would be one of the greatest stories in modern day baseball history. That's the type of turnaround from a season ago that we're seeing right now. Every game matters at this point. And usually around this time, when the Marlins are uncompetitive and the interest starts to wane and people get invested in other aspects of life, these games don't mean anything, but they do. 3 games against the Astros. Can you win another one? You've won 6 straight series. You're coming off of a series sweep against the Yankees and knocked them back behind their rival, the Red Sox. We had Yankee fans crying on social media about how pathetic it is that they lost to the Marlins. No, it's not, because the Marlins are a good baseball team, and that's what people don't realize. But they're going to. Peter Bendix is going to make a lot of other baseball fans Marlins fans. The casual fan that doesn't have a team, that lives in South Florida, is going to look at this team and buy in. I saw a tweet earlier that Yankee fans Yankee fans, quote unquote, were buying jerseys, buying Marlins gear at the stadium because they're just casual fans, but they live in South Florida. They want to support the Marlins. They're seeing the excitement and the energy that this team brings. Can't wait for this series against Houston. I want to keep winning. Sandy Alcantara, a big start post-deadline. Let's see what he brings. Thank you guys for listening or watching. And until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.